Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. We just hit 44.4k subscribers. Let's get to 45k. I will be doing a special at 45k. It's going to be a surprise. So like this video down below and subscribe to the channel. But before we get started, I have to tell you guys about my friends over at My Patriot Supply. Are you ready for what the future brings? Every day the news headlines get worse. Civil unrest, the second wave of COVID-19, economic collapse, massive suffering, not to mention what Mother Nature will do. Hurricanes, earthquakes, floods, wildfires, it's all there. The question is, will you be prepared? If you don't already have an adequate supply of long-term emergency food, it's like driving around without wearing your seatbelt, thinking you'll have time to put it on right before an accident. I urge you to build your emergency food supply now. There is no time to waste. As always, my highest recommendation goes to the company I personally use and trust, and you can too. It's My Patriot Supply, the go-to experts in emergency preparedness. Their mission is your survival, and right now, they're knocking off $100 off of their ample 4-week supply of delicious, nutritious food that's specially packaged to last up for 25 years. So make sure you don't pass this up. I believe everyone has a personal responsibility to have at least 4 weeks of emergency food on hand at all times, and you can order yours in a matter of minutes. Just go to preparewithredeagle.com right now. That's preparewithredeagle.com. And today we have to talk about the DNC and the effects of the DNC on Biden's chances. And right now you have the betting odds here, and I'm going to talk about why this is important in a minute. But I'm going to talk briefly about the DNC, what happened, what went down, my criticisms of it, what they did good right now. That was probably a very boring thing to watch. I kind of want 8 hours of my life that I wasted watching that monstrosity back. That was just abysmal. And I'm not even saying that from a partisan manner. There were plenty of Democrats, including people like Marianne Williamson on Twitter, who were saying the same thing, saying it was an 8-hour-long infomercial for the Democrat Party for Biden. And it was absolute cringe, in my opinion. And there were a lot of hypocrisies going on there, as we know. The Democrats were always saying on the media, if Trump gives a good speech, like I say, one of the greatest speeches in modern history, which was Donald Trump's 2016 RNC speech, they called that dark and divisive, despite the fact that it gave hope to Americans, especially middle Americans. They said that Trump's speeches were dark and divisive. I saw a lot of speeches that were given that could be classified as dark and divisive. Some from Hillary Clinton, who are stoking fears over voting conspiracies. Dark and divisive speeches from both of the Obamas, you could say. And a lot of it was just orange man bad, orange man bad. There was a lot of hypocrisy there. Especially you had them attacking Trump on the economy, but attacking Trump for the high virus case rates, despite the fact that while we do have a very high virus case rate, around the world we have one of the better economic recoveries. And in terms of the GDP loss, we didn't get hit that bad. And in fact, we're rising up in Q3, which is a good thing. So we know exactly what happened. They were propping up Biden to be the second coming of Jesus. They said Biden is not a puppet. That was, I think it was Tammy Duckworth that had to go out of her way to say it, which was very weird because that's exactly who Biden is. Biden is a puppet. And I can't blame them too much because I know it's a virtual convention. It's harder to do. And I hope the RNC can at least get some sort of small crowd because I think that that can make a big difference. But does that mean that that was the only reason why the ratings took a hit? I mean, the NFL draft had one of the biggest nights they've ever had. I think they had the most viewership and the highest ratings in history for the NFL draft, despite the fact it was all done virtually. But as you can see, the DNC was also done virtually, and you don't really see a bump. You see, I think it was a 20% decline, and that's a very, very conservative estimate. No pun intended there. They tried to prop up Biden as a man of faith, I believe, in the last night, despite the fact that he wants to subsidize taxpayer-funded late-term abortion with the restriction of the Hyde Amendment. And obviously, we have to talk a little bit about Biden's speech. Biden's speech was okay. It was okay for Biden. I don't think that it's going to help him very much, and you can see this in the betting odds right here. After Biden gave his speech, he plummeted in the betting odds. He was up, 60%. It's kind of gone down a little bit from 60 to 56 to 55. Trump is going up. On the other hand, this is a contrast to 4 years ago when Hillary Clinton, you saw Trump after Trump's convention, he went up from 25 to 33, and then he went from 33 to 19. after the convention. He went up and down, and ironically on election day, he was down 13 to 88. So he was only having a 13% chance to win in the expert betting markets in the aggregate, but still he managed to pull out a victory. So that's pretty funny. And that was a sigh of relief to conservatives everywhere. That was one of the greatest nights in American history. November 8th, the big middle finger to the American system, and we got to do it again. So the bottom line here is the fact that Biden's speech was not very consequential. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton both gave speeches that were well over an hour. Biden cracked in at 25 minutes. I give Biden credit for not making a mistake, but is that the low bar that we are going to set for potentially the next president of the United States? He gives a good speech if he does not slip up or have a big gaffe or make a mistake. It's ridiculous. And they had the video beforehand, the inspirational video, and he started talking, and it was very low energy. It fell very flat, and I'm not saying that based on a partisan basis. I'm just saying that Biden may have overperformed some of the expectations for people that thought that he would go out there and totally flop in his speech. But again, he's pushing the same nonsense. Orange man bad, orange man bad, orange man bad, over and over again. He didn't really propose any policy, any specific policy in his speech, except a mask mandate nationwide, which may be unconstitutional. There is a big debate about that, so we'll have to look into that if Biden does get elected, if he wants to institute that. But overall, I don't think that as, being a Republican, being an independent who leans right, that speech really didn't galvanize you. And we have no real new polling. I think Morning Consult just released a post-convention poll that had no bump for Biden, despite the fact that it did have Biden up by a decent margin. But the betting odds right now are showing a Biden drop. They're showing a Trump bump. And Trump hasn't even had his convention. And I do have a little wish list for it. And you need a crowd. You need to have some good speeches there. You need to not stray from Trump's original 2016 populist message. But it's just the way it is. And Biden's speech, again, if he is pushing the debunked narrative, he's pushing the debunked Charlottesville narrative, and I'll take some time out of my video to debunk this, where Biden says that Trump called neo-Nazis very fine people. This has been universally debunked, even by CNN, the New York Times, etc. And what you can see is that Trump said specifically in that same speech, he was not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists. He said they should be condemned totally, but you had many people in the group that was there for the statues who were not neo-Nazis and white nationalists, and this is true. The media has ignored them. Trump said that they were treated unfairly and ignored by the media. Yes, there were some very unsavory characters there that need to be condemned, but not everybody there was one of those unsavory characters, and there was some blame to go around on the other side. There were some Antifa people there that were causing a lot of drama, and you can see this in this article here by Scott Adams, where he says that he talked with one of the protest attendees who was actually a Jewish American. And there were several people there. There was people covered in the New York Times that were talked about, who one of the individuals was black, actually. So Joe Biden, if he has to go to those lengths to push the debunked narrative about Charlottesville, that means we know the Democrats are scared. That means we know that they kind of have thrown all of their orange man bad lies and chips out on the table. But the American people have rejected that. As we know, after Charlottesville, Donald Trump's approval rating actually went up. It went up from like 39 to 42 at the time. But either way, Donald Trump is gaining in the betting odds since Biden's speech, which was full of half-truths, very unenergetic, very low energy, and Biden has fallen in the betting odds. Will this translate into the current week of polling? It very well could. But either way, that was a very just cringe convention, especially the Andrew Yang comedy routine in day 4. That was one of the most off-putting parts of the whole convention. But again, it didn't really galvanize support, as you can see in the betting odds. And it really didn't galvanize the Bernie bros within the Democrat Party that they have to get out and vote in order for them to win the election. So you can see this right here, right now. It's not exactly going to look like the greatest convention. Can Biden win the election? He absolutely can. He's favored in the betting odds. I wouldn't bet my money on Biden right now, but he very well could win. Is it going to be because of the convention? No, it's not going to be because of the convention that was just basically an 8-hour-long CNN segment. It's like people just were probably better off watching CNN or MSNBC for 8 hours long because it had the same exact effect, and it was just total 8 hours of cringe. The RNC has to be better than this. It's a very low bar. If it's just an adequate, boring convention that I'm not that interested in, it would have easily matched the DNC, but it needs to be better than that if Trump wants to take advantage of a potential convention bump, because the convention bump is not there for Biden. In fact, you see a convention drop in the chances, so we'll have to wait and see, but it seems like Donald Trump needs to come out swinging this week. Republicans have to have a good convention, and if they do, they very well could propel Trump to narrow Biden's lead in the polls, and you might see a much closer election moving forward, at least based on the national projections. Obviously, we know that this race is going to be close when it's all said and done, but we'll just have to wait and see if it moves in terms of the numerical polling that we've seen into Trump's favor, because it possibly can. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please like this video down below, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media, become a member, donate to the Patreon, or subscribe. Star links in description. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.